Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019, 7 p.m. Heydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Woheski.
Here.
Patke. Pettit.
Here.
Skornia. Sullentrup.
Here.
Waterman.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated January 7, 2019? Heydrich. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Woheski. Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Having read the minutes, are there any questions or corrections?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Moheski, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated January 7, 2018. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda. There is no consent agenda.
Okay. Do we need to accept
Make a
that
motion.
then? Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Moheski, to accept the agenda as shown. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the agenda. Thank you.
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments and reappointments, police department reappointments.
This evening, we have two reappointments. Both of them are in the House, so that's good.
Scott Horn, can you come up here? So Scott has been with us for several years. He's the guy that collects all that information, so if you need to know something, you go to him.
Go-to
You want
guy.
the lowdown on somebody, you go to Scott. So. But he works, does a wonderful, fantastic job, and I'm proud of him. Citizen should be too, so I'd request you reappoint him. And then this other guy named Ed Menifee would really appreciate it if you reappoint.
How's he?
I think he's a really good guy.
Do a background check on it. I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Moheski, to approve the reappointments of Chief of Police Edward Menifee and Officer Scott Horn. And these would be for one-year appointments, as always. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointments. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Thanks for being here.
And congratulations, Scott, on your marriage.
Public hearings, special use permit, short-term rental located at 348 McLean.
You should see in your packet that Planning and Zoning has requested to postpone this item. There were some questions that weren't answered at P&Z because the applicant wasn't available, so it's going to be on in February.
Okay.
So do we need to,
Just accept the
Accept it in the
postponement
minutes.
in the minutes.
Make a motion.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Waterman, to accept this into the minutes that it's going to be postponed and going back to planning and zoning, right? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted that item. Thank you.
Special use permit, short-term rental located at 727 West 5th Street, withdrawn by applicant. If you could just accept that into the minutes.
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Moheski, seconded by Heydrich, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
Local historic landmark designation, 317 West Main Street.
All right, this is the first of three tonight. The Washington Historic Preservation Commission has nominated 3 different properties to be local landmarks. If you remember last year, they did nominate for the first in our history, and they successfully nominated the Wildy Oddfellow Cemetery up by the Casey Hall. At that time, it was same process. The Historic Preservation Commission nominated them, Planning and Zoning reviewed it, and then it goes to you all with the public hearing, and then for an ordinance to approve and designate it as a landmark. The code allows the Preservation Commission to recommend conditions that could be put onto the ordinance, and then council approves those conditions for all three of these. But I'll start, we have to have different, obviously different motions, but for all three, the conditions that are proposed are, number one, that it has to be mandatory review, mandatory compliance for any exterior improvements to the buildings that the Historic Preservation Commission will have to review. And then secondly, demolition is prohibited unless approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. So if it falls into disrepair to the point where, say, the building inspector is saying, it needs to come down, it's a hazard, then the Historic Preservation Commission could deem it necessary to be demoed. But those are the only two that they added. If you go through the code, it does allow for everything for color of building, the materials used, uses that go in. They decided to kind of take baby steps at this and not make it too restrictive. And then Carolyn Witt is here tonight. She is our chairwoman of the Preservation Commission, if you have any questions.
Any questions?
And the owners did sign off on these. So the way this works, the people who are eligible to nominate properties are the Preservation Commission, the owners themselves, or council. Those are the only three that can nominate a building, and the owners, in this case, did nominate each one.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept.
It's a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's
Is there-
a public meeting, right? Make a motion, accept it, and then
Well, but does anybody want to? Comment. Does anybody want to comment on this item?
I'm Carolyn Witt. I'm Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and that sounds like the Historic Preservation Commission is going to forbid. No, that's not the case. The idea is we want to work with property owners to say, well, we have a design guideline booklet that was put together. That was part of the DREAM initiative, I think. And so we have suggestions for external paint, color, awnings, windows, and that's basically what we want to be, is an advisor. But this gives us more power than just listening to a review, mandatory review, but we couldn't stop them from putting siding or vinyl siding or plastic windows. So this hopefully will allow us to be more of an advisory to anything else that comes our way. But these three properties were nominated by the Washington Historic Foundation, and so they're the owners of the properties, so it's from them. And if I can, Sal is probably better at this than I, but if you have any questions I could handle, I'd be glad to.
Do we have any questions of Carolyn?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Anyone else? Okay, now, a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Waterman, seconded by Solentrup, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance designating the Bleckman Building Farmers Market, 317 West Main Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions? Okay.
An ordinance designating the Bleckman Building Farmers Market, 317 West Main Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Heidrich,
Aye.
Skornia,
Yes.
Waterman,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Solentrup,
Yes.
Moheski,
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Local historic landmark designation, 123 Lafayette Street.
This is the second nomination. This is for the old post office where Downtown Inc.'s office is currently.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this item?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Waterman, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance designating the old Main Post Office, 123 Lafayette Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Solentrup.
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup. Any questions or comments regarding this ordinance?
An ordinance designating the Old Main Post Office, 123 Lafayette Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Scornia. Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Moheski.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Local historic landmark designation, 124 Jefferson Street.
This is the last request, and this is Gottfried's Cabin, which is the oldest building in town. So I think this one is of all of them, the most deserving to be a local landmark.
How old is it?
I don't know.
An honest answer.
It's in the application.
No,
Should be in the-
All I know is my building in Jefferson, it was built in 1851, so it has to be before that, I
I
guess.
think it was 1834 is
it's
what
in
the
the, it's in,
paperwork said.
it's in this. Let me, yeah, I just haven't. Got it.
I don't know.
Okay,
Original
it
building,
is
when the settlers.
1834.
Good job, Gretchen, good job.
Thank you.
Before the city was founded. Because the city was founded in 1839. Some of those early settlers. Okay, anyone have a comment or want to say something about this public hearing?
Make a
Okay.
motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Waterman, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance designating Godfrey's Cabin, God House, 124 Jefferson Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Sullentrup.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup. Any questions, comments?
An ordinance designating Godfrey's Cabin, God House, 124 Jefferson Street, as a local historic landmark in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Hydrich.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Moheski.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Citizens' comments.
Is there anyone here who would like to address the council this evening on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Report of department heads, 2018 building report.
Good evening. Just wanted to make myself available in case anyone has any questions about the building report for 2018. Does anybody have anything? All right, thank you.
I will note there was, you can see on the chart for the new dwelling units by construction type, excuse me, that 2018, we've seen an uptick the last 3 years, and so that's the highest it's been since 2006. Certainly not back to the years of 2004, we had over 70, and I think if we go back 1 or 2 years prior to 2004, we were closer to 90. So, but not at that, but certainly an uptick in the last 3 years. So that's one of the items that you can see off of that, and it's a good trend, so.
Good report. Thank you.
Could we just get a motion to approve
I'll
it
make a
or
motion to
accept
approve
it?
it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the 2018 building report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the report. Thank you.
I would just have one thing. The street department's been working pretty hard on trying to keep streets clean, things like that during these snow events. Sunday was a kind of an unforeseen event that kind of came out of nowhere. But I just would ask the public to do what they can during these large snow events to get their vehicles, if available to them, off the streets and into their parking lots or their driveways, so we can effectively get the snow removed and pushed to the side. That was an issue with the large snow event. Is we were working through a lot of cars and you got a lot of snow, for lack of better terms, windrows next to car doors, and we couldn't widen the streets out very much because vehicles were parked intermittently. So if the public does have an opportunity or the availability to move those vehicles onto their driveways. We would very much appreciate it. It would really help us get street cleans effectively. So, and forward any concerns about that to Tony or myself.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance amending the 2019 budget for the period of October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019 for the city of Washington, Missouri.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup.
This is, would like to go ahead and start in February, the first payroll in February, to go ahead and include the Proposition P. We've received our first check from Franklin County. As I stated in the letter, the proposal is to go ahead and provide all officers with across-the-board $8,500 annual increase in compensation. And then we would also set aside approximately 15% funds, and this is to cover future costs of employing additional officers so that we can go ahead and get a reserve built up, but also to have a surplus just in case if future sales tax starts to decline for whatever reason, we would have this available and not be at a budget crunch where we had to go ahead and try to keep those numbers. So this is what we have proposed to go ahead and do. As you'll recall, for those of you that were on the council at the time or kept up with Prop P, the county had established a formula by the commission order that was based upon the total of commissioned officers that we had as of January 1st, 2018. That was across the board for all municipalities and Franklin County. Unfortunately, I feel one of the problems with that formula is it doesn't compensate for future growth of communities and how you're going to go ahead and set aside for salaries with that. So we've already increased up to 29 officers, so we're already one over that. So we are going to need to go ahead and build up a surplus to help us, and we'll be working with Chief to go ahead each budget year to figure out when's the next time we anticipate we'll need another officer so that we can go ahead and have those funds available. But we feel that this is the best use of that tax as we receive it.
Darren, is that monthly or quarterly?
Excuse me, I think we'll receive those monthly. We just received the first one because it took a while for them to build that up, but we just got the first payment January. That's my understanding, monthly.
That was October, November's
Right,
receipts.
correct.
Any other questions or comments?
An ordinance amending the 2019 budget for the period of October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019 for the city of Washington, Missouri. Heydrich.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Yes.
Sullentrup. Moheski.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission amendment to State Block Grant Agreement Amendment Number 4.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is an amendment to the state block grant for our airport, specifically the airport layout plan, which in my opinion has gone on for quite some time. We did have I was hopeful that everything would be completed by the end of the year. However, we did have a request, or we need some more information as far as if this plan is approved, this airport layout plan, is the city locked in on those infrastructure improvements identified on that plan? So for example, if you were to build a hangar at location A, if we approve this plan and 10 years down the road we have the funds available to build that hangar, does it have to be built at location A, or can we relocate that around on the plan? I did not feel that it was in the best interest of the city to lock in on a plan that would basically, pigeonhole us, for lack of better terms, to a specific location. So once we receive that clarification from MoDOT, which that was received, I believe, last week, we are now proceeding with getting the final comments done. This would extend that period into June of this year, which is just a 6-month, extension essentially. But there are no major comments that I'm aware of, and CMT, I gave them the green light to finish it up. So I know it's gone on for quite some time, but I wanted to make sure that it was the most accurate plan we could get. there is no dollars, additional dollars with it.
Are we gonna start having airport meetings again?
Yes, the plan right now is to focus on, 1st of February, to focus on pretty hard on this transition. We do have there's an asset list essentially that's been compiled. We're going to be working through that as far as trying to identify what's necessary and what's not for us to have operations. So February will be the month where we really hone in on how this transition's going to happen, and then we could get the airport meeting back up and running hopefully in February. So I know it's in a little lull or a kind of a transition period, but
I was just
pretty confident
making sure
we'll
it's
get back
on
on
the
track here.
Okay.
So.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission amendment to State Block Grant Agreement, Amendment Number 4. Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Salentrop?
Yes.
Moheski?
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington to enter into a contract with Wash PC LLC for the purchase of an R340 1U rack server and accessories and amend the 2019 budget.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Good evening. This is for the fire department. Going back in time, we had a server at headquarters that we were using for our infrastructure. When we went citywide, there was a mirrored server put at headquarters in the basement that mirrored what was at public safety. After the data breach in July, I believe, of 17, that server was removed and our data speed has significantly dropped off. Part of it is the database that we're running is just a data hog. Working with Greg, we went through a number of iterations to try to do this in the least most cost-effective way possible, and we've went through a number of iterations. Now it's come down to where we just need to put some hardware into the fire station to drive this software. It's actually in 3 pieces. There's a server, there's memory, and then there's the installation, configuration, and all the miscellaneous things that go with it. This is coming out of the reserve fund, is where we're funding it. That's what the budget amendment is pulling it out of our reserve.
So the total of 10,150 will cover all this?
More than covered, yeah. Greg's assuring me he will cover it for more for that.
Okay.
Any questions or comments?
So is the installation going to be done by Wash PC or, okay.
Yeah, we're going to install a new rack, clean up the wiring, make that room more code compliant. It's been a real burr on my side with some of the issues that's in that room. So we're going to clean some of that up as well while we're doing all this.
So will the, and this might be a question for Greg, but is the installation time kind of going to be part of our normal block, or is this, okay.
It's part of this quote. There's a block time in there. I believe it's 20 hours of block time for this in there. And part of this too is we're going to maintain a fiber connection into that building. So part of this is a firewall to protect the city. So that way, that's not a way for a hacker to get into the city through another means. So it's a way to protect the city from an IP breach.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington to enter into a contract with Wash PC LLC for the purchase of an R340 1U rack server and accessories and amend the 2019 budget. Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Salentrop?
Yes.
Moheski?
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance annexing 19.5 acres of property located along the intersection of Highway 100 and Bluff Road in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Scornia.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
All right, this is the ordinance approving the annexation we saw 2 meetings ago, the old Haza property at Bluff Road and 100. I did not receive any formal complaints. That's why we wait the 15 business days before we approve this. I didn't receive any emails, and I believe Mary did not receive any written complaints as well. This is coming in as R3 multifamily. They will still have to, the developer will still have to follow all normal site plan requirements and building code requirements to make sure it is up to city code. Just to point out, there had been some questions after it went to P&Z that this approved the site layout and that it's only going to have one entrance. Since the development's along Highway 100, it will be up to MoDOT if they're going to require a traffic study, a second entrance, all that. The fire department could require a second entrance as well, depending on the amount of units. But that is all approved at site plan when we actually get a plan. So I know that I got some questions about that this is approving a single entrance. This is just approving the annexation as R3.
Any questions of Sal?
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments?
An ordinance annexing 19.5 acres of property located along the intersection of Highway 100 and Bluff Road into the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Salentrop?
Yes.
Moheski?
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with KJ Understall Construction Company for the 2019 West Main Street Sidewalk Project, SCP 6400626.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
Okay, within your packet, Andrea put together a cover letter. We had 13 bidders for this project. So lesson learned, bid every sidewalk project in December, and you'll have 13 bidders. But the low bid was right around $215,000. You can see that engineer's estimate is $242,715. So we did receive what I believe pretty good bids. They were fairly tight around the $240,000, $250,000 mark, with the local contractor being quite a bit lower. The second page of that letter also gives you kind of the funding breakdown. This STP NAFA funding source, that is a MoDOT funding source that is allocated specifically to the city of Washington using state dollars. That funding source goes away in 2019. And if you do not use it, you lose it. So it was a project that we had identified here. We had approximately $240,000. 120 of that also went to Bluff Road. So we kind of split the two just to try to utilize as much as we could. You also see there, we were able to secure $43,500 from Franklin County through their transportation grant. The remaining portion is $50,970, which would be funded with our transportation sales tax. This project is a sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk construction from Teeman Drive to Catawba Place, and pavement repairs, full depth pavement repairs, where that water line break was approximately 2 years ago to kind of get that rough pavement taken care of. And there would be a part of that would be a replacement of a retaining wall, and it's a pretty straightforward project. If you have any other questions, I can definitely answer them.
John, what kind of retaining wall?
It is a large block retaining wall that you see on West Main. That's how the project was bid. Now,
You mean front?
I'm sorry, West Front, yes.
That's okay.
We are entertaining potentially a cost savings to do a small block retaining wall. The wall maximum height is 4.5 foot, 5 foot. It's a pretty short wall. The concern that I would have is once you get over 4 to 5 feet, you got to put what's called geogrid behind it, which extends almost 6 feet potentially in some locations. So I got to make sure that geogrid stays on city property, obviously. These large block retaining walls, you don't need that because the wall themselves, weigh they're still more a gravity wall. So the project is bid with the large block that you see on West Front, but we are looking at potential cost savings with a small block, that.
How much?
Do not know yet. That'll be presented to us, and then we'll make a decision, do we want to accept it or not.
But that's included into this bid, though?
The large block retaining wall is what was bid. No, to go back, just to make sure I'm clear on that. The large block retaining walls in this bid, the potential cost savings is not included in this bid. I do not know what that is. I can't quantify it at this time. But we would entertain any cost savings.
I just think that if we had it in a bid for large block, we should continue to go ahead and do that, because I think we need to keep things uniform on Front Street and keep it going towards the park, because it kind of falls in with the park, along with the stage and the wall around the stage, down Front Street and going up West Main. I mean, I'd like to know what the cost difference is going to be.
Yeah, yeah, once we get it, I mean, if it's a couple $1,000s, I don't necessarily think that would be worth it. There is also some concern, there's a couple large trees that are pretty close to this location, where a large block wall, you may be able to save those trees rather than take them out. So it's definitely, we'll have to look at every situation, and then once we get the numbers, we can all discuss it maybe at an admin ops situation. I do not know, the plan right now is middle of February is when we would get concurrence. At this time, I don't know what the federal government shutdown does to a MoDOT concurrence, if there's staff available to get that going or not. So
And the deadline's the end of 2019?
the funding goes away fiscal year 2019, so September, but this is a 40 calendar day project. So once it starts, they got 40 days to get it done.
Okay.
There would be I could foresee some minor closures and a detour around the construction area just to give the contractor time to work, just to breathe a little bit. We're not necessarily, there's 2 access with Catawba. There's only 1 house, I believe, on the south side of West Main that would have any issues, but we could work with them on that. So this is a really straightforward project.
Okay. Anything else?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with KJ Understall Construction Company for the 2019 West Main Street Sidewalk Project, STP 6400626. Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Salentrep?
Yes.
Moheski?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the provisions of Chapter 220, Section 220.040, receptacles of the Washington City Code in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is receptacles in the sense of trash cans, not plug-ins, not outlets. So that's how the code is written. It is called receptacles. So anyway, we talked about this at the last admin ops. This has really 2 different, the ordinance changes 2 different functions. Number 1 is the flyer that everyone receives as a new citizen, or if you ask for a flyer when trash gets picked up. It says have your trash cans out by 5 a.m. There's nothing in the code that requires that, though. The 5 a.m. the day of pickup. So I couldn't really get a good answer on why we chose 5 a.m. other than sometimes in the summertime our crews start at 5:30 and we got to have some uniform time. So what this does is this essentially allows, it kind of narrows that timeline down to where the trash cans are supposed to be at the curb 6 p.m. or no earlier than 6 p.m. on the preceding day of your pickup. So for example, if your pickup's on Monday morning, you can have your trash cans out at 6:01, essentially on Sunday night, but not at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, okay? So it gives you a time to start at, which, are we enforcing on a Sunday? That's a whole different issue. But, and then it says 5 a.m. the day of pickup. So if you get your cans out at 10 a.m. and we're already through, we got an issue that we got to work through. So it actually puts that in an ordinance form to make sure that we got something to point at rather than just a piece of paper that you get when you move into town.
Have we had an issue with this or something? Or?
We have.
We have.
All the time.
Really?
It is unbelievable. Weekly. And it is a constant issue that is a tough issue to educate the general public on, because they feel like you've come, let's just say your pickup is at 10 a.m. On a typical day, but there's a road closure, so we got to change the routes up, so we get there 2 hours earlier. Well, the cans aren't out, and then it looks like you missed the whole street, or missed one pickup. Well, now it becomes an issue because we really didn't miss the pickup, you just didn't get your trash out. You know what I mean? So now we got to send crews back, and we typically do, and that's when you get the educational piece in it, but it is constant. So we're trying to put a little emphasis on it, just to let everyone know that 5 a.m. is the time the night before. So that's the first component of the ordinance change. The second one is the actual trash cans themselves, or receptacles themselves. It gives an option 1, option 2. Option 1 is like everyone understands it, 35 gallons or less. The reason why we do 35 gallons or less, because we have to physically pick those up and put them in back of the truck. Obviously, you can imagine, stopping at 600 or 400 stops a day, that becomes pretty labor intensive. But nothing changes there. You want to have 6 35-gallon cans? So be it, okay? That's not an issue. But it gives option 2, which is using a larger than 35-gallon can, provided that is on a approved list that Mary has a copy of. Currently, the only brand that is approved for a larger than 35-gallon container is a Toter, T-O-T-E-R brand. They can be purchased at Walmart, Lowe's, and Ace here in town, and any other retailer that you can really go to. They go all the way up to 96-gallon. 96-gallon is 3 to 4 35-gallon cans. So you can, now they're wheeled. They have 10-year warranties on them. We would entertain any other vendors or manufacturers if they wanted to get on that list, but they'd have to submit that information to me to get the list amended and approved. Currently, Toter is the only brand that is approved. That's important.
So if the public goes to these places and asks for city trash can, will that store know what they mean?
I'm working with, I've worked, luckily we have some employees that have weekend jobs at Ace, so that individual definitely does know. Walmart is really hard to nail down. It's hard to get the person. And then Lowe's is the same way. So one concept that we had was to try to print some out and just hang it there. Quite honestly, I may just go in there every Monday morning and put it up there myself.
We've had them hung up before just to let people know that it's no larger than 35, that the city will not accept cans larger than 35 gallons. And it's been on display when you go there to pick up a trash can.
They don't like, Lowe's has said they don't like to do that, so it's just trying to get it taken care of. So I will work on getting that done, or hopefully try to get some answer on that. They are wheeled, so, and they make a 48-gallon, they make a 64-gallon, they make a 96-gallon. So, like I said, if you only have one bag of trash, you're more than welcome to put it in a 35-gallon or less container. But if, let's say, you got a family of 6 and you want to use a 96, you can. If you got a family of 12, you want to have 3 96s, that's okay. We can do that. So there is no number. We did not change that. We will tomorrow, we put a flyer together outlining why we're changing, or what we're changing, why we're changing it, and what, just some generic questions. We'll put that up on our Facebook page. We'll share it all around. We also have a flyer for the February utility billing. That's the same flyer. So we're just trying to get a consistent message out. I would foresee, I think we'd be naive to think that we wouldn't get kind of the cheap plastic wheeled ones that doesn't have the lifting bar. They make like 50-galloners that have wheels on them, but they don't have a lifting bar. Well, that's not on the approved list, so they will get tagged, and then it'll be an educational piece again of why they got tagged. So if you get any calls or any concerns, forward them to me, and we can get them on the right track.
As far as time goes, is this going to include the big trash pickup and like your limbs and stuff?
That wouldn't change.
5 a.m. in the morning?
Oh, no, that's all. The time's the same. So it would be 5 a.m. essentially. Yeah, there's nothing really in the code that says that, but.
This would not cover that. This is just for the receptacles for the trash.
Well, I know that big trash gets picked up on the day that your trash gets picked up, but if it gets put out there after trash goes by, what are you going to do?
On big trash days, historically, we've always just gone back.
Okay.
And we would continue to do that. Unless, once again, it becomes an issue and we have to address it. I think in a situation like that, we are really reactive to it. And if I'm not aware that it's been a real problem. So I do know in big trash, we have, due to some strain, some workman comp situation, things like that, I have directed the street department to start just making people more aware that their cans are too big and try to rein some of this stuff in a little bit and educate the public why it's an issue for us. We did see a little bit, one of the concerns would be is that you'd have more big trash. So for example, if you got a mattress that goes out on a regular trash route, that's not trash. That's a big, if you have a mattress on a generic Tuesday, that is not refuse. That should be reserved for big trash day. So we tag it, we do not pick it up. And we educate the public on, here's our big trash days this year, hold on till then. So we've been doing that a little more. We've tried really hard in 2018 to kind of rein that in a little bit. We did see a little bit of an uptick then on the utilization of big trash day. So that's kind of the trade-off. But the thing about that is, with our personnel, is we dedicate the entire street department and, everybody that wants to help, to help us out on Big Trash Week, so we have the personnel available. I think it's unreasonable for us to get a driver and one shagger to try to lift a mattress or a couch on back of a truck on a Tuesday when we're trying to get to 600 locations. I think that's an unreasonable expectation. So we'll continue to work with everybody, but this is a big positive. I mean, this is a good step in the right direction with these new cans.
Any other comments? Okay.
An ordinance amending the provisions of Chapter 220, Section 220.040 receptacles of the Washington City Code in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Heidrich. Aye. Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Moheski.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an aviation project consultant agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Crawford Murphy and Tilley, Inc.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, so last year when or about approximately this time last year, when the apron project was bid, there was an alternate to have striping included in that bid. The airport runway does need to be striped. It is not meeting the reflectivity that's required by the FAA. So we have to do something, what we would do is essentially remove the striping and restripe the runway. I'm also going to include some minor pavement repairs on the runway, so some areas, panels that are cracked, things of that nature, just generic maintenance as part of this contract as well. Back when the apron project was bid as the alternate, we chose not to accept the alternate at that time because the low bid actually had a higher alternate number, and I believe the third lowest bid had the lowest alternate number. So it kind of created this issue that we felt we weren't getting the best bid because the alternates weren't very tight. So we made a decision to pull that out of the project and rebid the project in this year. So that's what this does. This $13,000 is essentially to repackage that, make sure it's up to FAA specs, and then get it out to bid again. We are anticipating this to happen in April. It would need a minor runway closure. You cannot stripe a runway with the runway being open, obviously. So we probably would see a 3 to 5 day potential closure of the runway itself in order to get this stuff done. But there's no really other way to work around maintenance projects on an airport runway. So it would be a pretty quick project to get in there and do some concrete work, and it's striping. I mean, I thought pouring concrete was easy, but I think striping is quite a bit easier, so.
Will the slabs be fixed by then?
The slabs, I don't know. I wish Mark was here. Yeah, the 7 panels that were damaged with the temporary striping removal, we have verbal commitment that they will remove and replace them. They are not acceptable. They have not been accepted by, approved by us. And quite honestly, the project's not complete. So if they chose to not remove those, then we do have a performance bond to complete the project that we would lean on very heavily. So would it be complete by then? I would say yes. And if I can work it out pretty well, I would try to coordinate these 2 projects at once so you don't have 2 closures back to back. That may not happen just because you're dealing with 2 different contractors.
Okay.
But we'll give it a try. I mean, that's best I can. As this keeps going, you'll get more updates.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an aviation project consultant agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Crawford Murphy and Tilley, Inc. Heidrich.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Moheski.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Commission, committee, and board reports. Preliminary plat, Highland Meadows, plat 5.
So I received a request on Friday from the applicant that they would like to withdraw this. They are going to revise the lot layout. This is Highland Meadows across High Street from Casey's. There is about 17 acres, I believe, there. They wanted to cut into 3 big lots, and they're rethinking how they want those divvied up. So they're going to come back in February.
Do we need a motion to?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept it.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to accept the pulling of this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or your vote, you have
Mayor's
pulled the item.
report.
A couple of things. Want to give a shout out to our snow removal team. They did a great job, not only with the really deep snow, but also with the surprise snow yesterday, Sunday. And they really worked through the night on the first storm and were out there and did an excellent job. And I know I heard many positive comments about the job they did. So really proud of how that all unfolded, and good job. We were ready. We had our EOC meetings, and everybody knew what was next. So
And we're always looking to improve. So, I mean, if there's any constructive criticism, make sure you forward that to me so we can do better. I mean, that's all you can
That's
do is
good.
improve the next time around.
right.
I'd like to thank you for closing Riverfront Park. It was clearly dangerous, and people couldn't determine that on their own. And so I appreciate that that was closed.
There's a mechanism that goes in the Parks Department actually does that. So it's a shout out to them that those things just work that way. So it's something that we've always done. And I think we had an issue a couple years ago where a truck actually ended up in the river.
I
So-
thought there were going to be several. I actually would have liked to have seen it done sooner, and I don't know what the threshold is that determines when it gets closed. I watched a car go backwards to get out. It clearly was a front-wheel drive, and they finally, after about a half hour, decided to put it in reverse, and then they struggled over the tracks.
Yeah, that
and
can be an issue.
I was very concerned about that, so.
We also, with snow removal, and that's what we're trying to do, is try to figure out what those things are to kind of get these more policies, I don't know what to call them policies, but more guidance in place on how we handle these things. One thing is the landfill situation on a Saturday. On a Friday night snow event into a Saturday, we had nobody utilize the landfill at all. So we had operator personnel there waiting for people and scale operators waiting for people when we could have reorganized the staff and had that operator personnel work in the streets. So internally, what we've done is winter weather advisories that happen on a Friday to Saturday is to get notification out late Friday afternoon as fast as possible and essentially just close the landfill for Saturday. Frees up one person, an operator. We can then redistribute the scale house guy to, working at the shop or something like that for the Saturday. And quite honestly, nobody needs to be on top of the landfill at 4 inches, 6 inches, 10 inches of snow. It's not safe, and I think it's more exposure than what it is positive. So that's what we'll have that same conversation.
Awesome. Thank you.
And secondly, the boards and commission party is this week, Friday night evening at the senior center. I believe it starts at 6. And so this is when all of our commission members and board members attend. So hope to see you there. That's all I have.
City Administrator's report.
We are working with a political action committee that's working on Prop L. That's the tax increase for the library. We will be providing them facts just like we did for the sales tax renewal when we did that at that time. I think it'd be relatively simple, but we'll be following the same guidelines, just giving facts so that they know here's where the revenue comes from, here's how much the tax will generate, et cetera. I think they've got another meeting this Thursday. I think will be their second meeting that they've got. Another item, we have had over 1,300 responses to the survey for the aquatics facility. So that has really been a popular response. I would have never in a million years expected that much within the first 2 weeks. We had about 400 responses on our survey when we did it for the for the capital improvement sales tax renewal. So it will still be posted, I think, for another 2 weeks. And so anybody that's out there that wants to, they can get a hold of City Hall. I think we've got copies of the links on our Facebook page. I know it's been posted and shared several times. So we'll continue to do that while it's open. And then I just have one item for you in the executive session.
Council comments?
Any comments this evening?
Did you read all 13 of them, 1,300 of them?
Not yet. Well, I spent the weekend reading 600 of them.
Nope. I can imagine where.
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Hydrich.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup. Moheski. Holtzmeyer.
Aye.